Hello and welcome to Wednesday Bible Study with Pastor Dan and Stand Back Jesus. I hope you're well. I hope you're staying safe and getting through these challenging times as best as you can. Today for our Bible study, we're going to I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, briefly explore two parts of two verses. First, we'll begin with Acts 17, which finds us with Paul in Athens. And I quote, "Paul stood in front of the Areopagus and said, 'Athenians, I see how extremely religious you are in every way. For as I went through the city and looked carefully at the objects of your worship, I found among them an altar with the inscription, "To an unknown God."'" So, maybe we could ask ourselves, what are the objects of our worship? And do they include an unknown God? And if they include an unknown God, and I'm going to suspect that they probably do, what is that unknown God? Well, I think that very often that unknown God is you and me. It's us. And especially during challenging times like these, it's hard not to worship ourselves. Now, we don't do that in any kind of strange, glorified, overt way, but very often our natural tendency to look out first for ourselves becomes amplified. Now, again, we have genuine concern for other people and genuine emotions for other people during these times, but very often, during tough times, we tend to turn more and more inward to ourselves. And when those emotions that are challenging us, emotions like anxiety and despair and even fear, when those are challenging us and we turn inward toward ourselves, unfortunately, we often perpetuate a vicious cycle. The more we turn in toward ourselves, the more anxiety and despair and fear we feel, and so on in a vicious cycle. So, what can we do about that? Well, we can look to Jesus. Now, I say that it's not as some sort of hackneyed, patent religious solution, not as some sort of pipe dream or magic pill, but I say that we can look to Jesus based on my own experience and witness during the course of my life. Again, it's not a panacea, but it's the beginning of a direction or the beginning of a direction that takes us toward meaningful change. And I read from John 14, which is the gospel text for this Sunday, where Jesus says, and he's talking to his disciples again, this is his last discussion with them before he ends up being crucified. He says, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments." What do you ask then does Jesus command? A few verses back, he told us. Jesus said, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another." So what is the possible answer to this vicious cycle of exacerbated emotions of anxiety, despair, and fear? Very possibly, it begins with a connection with Jesus Christ in knowing that you are loved. Just as I have loved you, Jesus says. And that's the starting place. That's where it all begins. And I am not sure what the love of God in Jesus Christ looks like for you. Maybe the love of Jesus Christ helps you see that you matter, helps you understand that you are worthwhile, helps give you some confidence and courage in difficult times, helps you understand that you can be hopeful even in the midst of difficult times. So once you know that you are loved, then and only then, you can't really love unless you know you're loved. I don't care if we're talking about spouses or friends or God. Unless you know you're loved, you really can't love back. But once you do know that you're loved, or at least you're in the process of coming to terms with that love, then you can look out. Then you can reach out. Then you can genuinely love back. And in so doing, you move out of yourself, you move out of your preoccupations, you move out of all that stuff that binds and confines you, and you're set free. And you recognize in so doing that you become part of a whole. You become part of the universe. Again, back to Jesus. When you really see how much I love you, those are my words. When you really see how much I love you, then, says Jesus, you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. On that day, you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are all in this together. Together with a more enlightened relationship with yourself, together with honest, caring, genuine relationships with each other, and together in an honest, genuine, truthful relationship with your God. Amen. Remember to use your head, wash your hands, keep the faith, and I'll see you Sunday.